Hi, I'm Brian Kurtz, and these videos are meant to accompany a book called Access the Real You, Touching Your Divinity and Applying Its Wisdom to Your Life. I hope they serve.
So next piece, we talked resolve, refine, release. We've talked about resolve, we talked about refine. Now let's talk release. So if you've done all you can to resolve an issue and it just won't resolve, it's time to refine who you're going to be about the issue that you couldn't resolve. Say you've really done everything you can do to refine who you're going to be about the thing you couldn't resolve, and there's still stuff that remains. Release is the third part. So let's talk about release for a minute. Practical application. So 4 years and 4 months and 4 days ago, from the moment we were doing this recording, literally, both of my parents were suddenly gone. Mom got sick. Dad was doing everything he could to take care of her. He finally got to the end of his rope because they were both getting kind of elderly, 88 and 84. Dad calls the ambulance to take Mom to the hospital. They take one look at Dad and said, "You don't look so good either." They put him in the back of the ambulance with Mom. They drove to the hospital. They got her in one wing of the hospital. They looked at him and said, "You got walking pneumonia. We're going to put you in this other wing of the hospital." And my dad was really intense because he'd been taking care of Mom for years. Every little need, every little bit of everything that he knew that doctors might not notice or pick up on. So my dad, being the neurotic, very intelligent, intense guy that he was so freaking out about Mom being in one end of the hospital and he being in the other, he stroked out and died. 3 days later, my mom comes out of her funk and's like, "Hey, where's my husband?" "Well, he died 3 days ago." She basically willed herself to death over the next few weeks. So I lost both of my parents in a matter of a few weeks 4 years ago. I can't resolve that one. They're gone. I can't refine any further who I'm going to be about it. I still miss my parents every day. It still hurts. We had spent years working on our relationship. Can't resolve it. Can't refine any further. Time to release what's left. Now, what is release? Well, I've got some keys in my pocket, and I'm going to demonstrate release for you. So here's this thing that you want to release. Notice, calmly, hold your arm out, palm down, open your hand, let it fall. Now, that's release. In case you missed it, I'll show you again. Keys, arm out, palm down, open hand, let it fall. That's release. Now, notice I didn't check in with my thumb to say, "Is this okay?" Or, "Is this going to work out?" Or, "Well, what are people going to think about me if this doesn't work out or I don't do this right?" Or, "Well, it didn't necessarily work out the last time." Well, I did release, but now it's back. And all of this is the brain-generated conditions that prevent release. Release is simply opening your hand and letting it fall without all the brain-generated conditions. If you are trying to resolve each of these conditions, and we know that our brain's job is to generate more duality, more conditions, more preferences that haven't been met, more unfulfilled expectations, your brain never stops. Your brain is pumping out thoughts like your stomach pumps stomach acid and your heart pumps blood and your lungs pump air. It's just doing its job. But you're not your brain. You're the noticer of it. Your brain can be doing all of this stuff. And if you are requiring for release to have to work through all of these things, you'll never finish because your brain will keep generating more and more of them. The only way to release is to just open your hand and let it fall. Now, again, I'm not a biblical scholar. Jesus is talking to his disciples at one point. I couldn't tell you which one of the guys, but he said, "Look, Jesus, there's this guy in town. He's wearing me out, Jesus. I've been working on this forgiveness thing. I try and work on it. I think I've forgiven him, but then he does or says this other thing, and it hacks me off again. And Jesus, how many times am I going to have to forgive this guy? I think I've done it, and then it turns out I haven't." Well, Jesus told the guy a very symbolic answer, which was, you got to forgive him 70 times 7. Now, that did not mean you forgive him 490 times and on 491 you go kick his butt. That's not the way it works. The point of Jesus' message to the guy was, you may release and it may come right back. You may release again, it may come right back. I miss my parents, I can let it go and it comes right back. How many times am I going to have to do this? As many times as it takes. Maybe forever. Can you do it? Yeah, you can. Will it be easy? Not necessarily, but what is easy? Easy is part of that duality consciousness. Easy, hard. Possible, impossible. Fun, not necessarily so fun. Anytime your brain is generating another gradation, another this, that, us, them, you, me, shades of gray, any of that, it's just brain chatter. It's just brain generated differentiation, because that's what your brain does. Cut yourself some slack. Cut your brain some slack. Forgive yourself. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is release of the conditions that you've been holding on to that have otherwise prevented release. If I want to drop this, but there's this one little niggly thing that I haven't quite resolved yet, I cannot release that. Release doesn't require that you work through all of the little details. It just means you let it go. And if it comes back, you'll let it go again. You can do this. Just take some effort, some practice, some self-love and self-forgiveness, some love of others and forgiveness of others. That will yield release. You can do it.